Hey, how's it going everybody? I hope you're all good. My name is Peter Gargan, and for this video, I'd like to talk about the recently announced remake of Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, heading to Switch later this November. As one of my personal favourite titles from the Super Nintendo, and a rather deceptively important part of Nintendo's history, I'd like to go over why its return is such a huge deal. Let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Firstly, I think it's important to go over Super Mario RPG's historic significance. On the surface, one might think that its release wasn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. You might be thinking, oh, an experimental collaboration between Nintendo and the JRPG kings of Squaresoft, a one-off occasion that is only recently being revisited, right? Not the case at all. Super Mario RPG was one of the earliest instances of providing the Mario universe with a grander scale not seen in the main series platformers before. Due to belonging to the RPG genre, as the game's title outright states, it meant telling a more ambitious story from before that defied franchise tropes up to that point. A new villain that causes problems in the world when what was probably the only exception before this, Bowser actually becoming an ally before Bowser's story and Sparks of Hope made it cool, an isometric overworld that combines the Mario universe's platforming and colourful charm with combat, progression and dialogue-heavy interactions reminiscent of Final Fantasy. These ideas sounded absurd on paper, but they still managed to weave together into something truly unique. Not just for the Mario franchise, but for the RPG genre as a whole. Not only that, but if it wasn't for Super Mario RPG, then we wouldn't have had the Paper Mario and Mario & Luigi series, both of which are considered spiritual successors that still have a bit of that Mario RPG essence within them. Unfortunately, recent developments such as Alpha Dream's bankruptcy and the divisiveness of the recent Paper Mario title's more experimental approaches have left somewhat of a void in the department for RPGs featuring Mario. The Mario plus Rabbids series seems to have become the main go-to in the Switch era to get that fix, but still fills a different niche due to belonging to the tactical niche of RPGs, meaning there aren't really any other alternatives for those yearning for the classic style from before. This remake has the opportunity to satisfy that itch for the time being, even if it's technically not a completely original title. In the best case scenario, the Super Mario RPG remake's hypothetical and, let's face it, likely success could lead to a resurgence in activity regarding what many fans have been begging Nintendo to do for years. Maybe it will inspire them to return to the approach that the first two Paper Mario games had, to create a true follow-up to the Thousand Year Door, or even pass the Mario & Luigi torch to another developer with strict supervision to prevent damaging Alpha Dream's legacy. After all, a remake of Super Mario RPG itself is something that has been in high demand for years, and judging from those that recorded their live reactions to its announcement during the Nintendo Direct, there will naturally be a lot of anticipation leading up to its November release. Not only has this remake got fans hopeful for more Mario RPGs down the line, but it has sparked curiosity regarding Nintendo and Square Enix's relationship going forward, as the original Super Nintendo release was also somewhat symbolic of the beginning of the end of their collaborative endeavours, at least on this scale. Being released in a time when the Nintendo 64 was around the corner, many gaming historians will tell you how Squaresoft, back from before they merged with Enix, migrated development of their iconic Final Fantasy VII to the PlayStation after Nintendo decided to stick with cartridges instead of adapting to CDs, and since the technical and economic limitations of using cartridges couldn't allow Squaresoft to fulfill the vision they had for FF7, they decided that development of future Final Fantasy titles would be exclusive to PlayStation platforms in the then foreseeable future. Super Mario RPG represented the potential that Nintendo and Square had when working together, and even to this day, their relationship still hasn't quite been the same ever since. While it is true that many Square Enix games still get published on Nintendo hardware, they haven't worked so closely together to this degree ever since. The closest I can think of at the top of my head is maybe Nintendo standing in as the publishers for Dragon Quest IX on the DS and the Switch version of Octopath Traveler for distribution outside of Japan, but I'm not quite so sure if that counts as anything quite as significant. Maybe they could work on other Nintendo properties outside of Mario and adapt the likes of Zelda and Pikmin into unique takes on the genre by combining what makes those franchises unique with RPG mechanics, just as a couple of examples of possibilities. Even if we remove Nintendo from the equation, there are also many other classic Square Enix owned games from the SNES to PS1 era that could get the remake treatment, often regarded as the golden age of JRPGs. Chrono Trigger, Parasite Eve, and Vagrant Story could join the ranks of the already existing remakes of Trials of Mana and Live Alive, or Live Alive, or however you're supposed to call it. We already have confirmation of Dragon Quest III and Star Ocean the Second Story, so I don't see this trend stopping anytime soon, now that Mario RPG has joined in on the fun. When researching for this video, I tried to find information to see if Square Enix are actually developing the remake, but I couldn't find solid confirmation. So admittedly, it may be too early for me to assume that things are coming full circle just yet, and it's possible that they've outsourced it to another developer under mutual approval from Nintendo and Square, seeing as the latter are still regarded as the trademark owner for the game's original characters and assets as confirmed by the copyright notice being featured in the original version of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga for the Game Boy Advance, after Geno's cameo appearance in that game, who was unfortunately absent in the 3DS remake. In all honesty, if I've missed something here, you are more than welcome to enlighten me in the comments. What we do know regarding development, however, is that the game's original composer, Yoko Shimomura, is making her return for the new arrangements, which greatly excites me, seeing as I love what we've already heard in the reveal trailer, and is actually one of the main things I'm looking forward to the most from the remake. Although I first played Super Mario RPG rather late in the grand scheme of things, being one of my panic purchases ahead of the Wii U eShop's closure, I still feel like it's a game I owe a lot to. After all, Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga was the very first game I ever fell in love with as a child, and is the reason I became a Nintendo fan, and it wouldn't have existed if it weren't for Mario RPG. While this may be wishful thinking, if this remake does well, maybe Nintendo and Square will be convinced to finally do a sequel that retains the isometric style. I'd be very interested to see how that would turn out. Maybe it'll even increase credibility for those that have wanted to see Geno make a playable appearance in a future Smash Bros. Title. You never know. Anyway, that just about does it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Are you looking forward to the Super Mario RPG remake? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm greatly interested in hearing what you have to say. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content on the world of Nintendo or other games I want to talk about. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.